This video is sponsored by Skillshare. Here it is, my fellow mobile gamers of YouTube, part 2 of my series about roguelikes, where last time we covered traditional turn-based roguelikes, and today it's all about the 10 best action roguelikes for mobile. So that means an Archero clone, an Archero clone, an Archero clone, an Archero clone, right? All kidding aside, it seems every game developer has to release at least one of these Archero clones these days, but instead, fret not. Today, we're gonna talk about some of the most popular action roguelikes on mobile, some of the hidden gems of the genre, and even a few bonus games. And I think you guys are gonna really love this first one, called Juicy Realm. This is a colorful and fun roguelike twin-stick shooter with randomly generated areas and monsters, and lots of fun and wacky weapons we can switch between and upgrade as we progress in the game. Like in most good roguelikes, we start by selecting one of multiple characters that each have unique abilities, stats, and starting weapons, and then we're basically just let loose to defeat monsters and bosses either alone or in the co-op mode. Progression in this game is mostly focused on finding and upgrading new gear, which gives the game a bit of a looter shooter feel that I think many will really enjoy, and it isn't as punishing as some of the other roguelikes we're gonna talk about today, which makes it a great beginner game for people new to the genre. Juicy Realm also just has a lot of charm, and although it is admittedly relatively short and doesn't have as much replayability as some of the other games we're gonna talk about today, it's still definitely worth its asking price of $2 on iOS and $3 on Android. The next game is Otherworld Legends, which is a neat roguelike action RPG by the developer of Soul Knight, with a high-quality pixel art style, great controls, and an awesome melee combat system with lots of different skills and unique stats for each character. One of the best things about this game is that the developers found a way to really just make it good old fun to fight our way through procedurally generated dungeon rooms full of monsters and bosses, which makes the game almost endlessly replayable. Like in most roguelikes, all equipment is lost when we die, forcing us to start all the way over again from the first dungeon floor. But there is also some permanent progression in this game, as we can spend our time between deaths on crafting stat-increasing beverages, unlocking new abilities, or of course buying new heroes. The game is free to download and play both on Android and on iOS, but then monetizes through incentivized ads and in-app purchases for resurrection cards and to unlock new characters. But none of these purchases are really necessary to enjoy the game, so I think it's definitely worth checking out. And as a quick bonus recommendation here, you have to take Soul Knight for a spin if you haven't yet. First of all, it's the game that Otherworld Legends is based on, and secondly, it's pretty much just a classic in the action roguelike genre at this point. Okay, the third game today is Magic Survival, and I'm pretty sure some of you guys would just instantly downvote this video if I did not mention Magic Survival today. And for good reason, by the way, because it's absolutely one of the best arcade shoot-'em-up roguelikes on mobile, and it also sits at a 100% positive user score on my games discovery platform, Mina Review. Now, the objective of the game is to basically just survive for as long as possible against hordes of enemies rushing towards us using the unique character class we selected before entering the stage. The game also draws inspiration from the likes of Archero by allowing us to select random temporary power-ups as we play the game, which might unlock brand new spells or let us upgrade existing ones. And between deaths, we then spend the currency earned through gameplay to permanently increase passive bonuses, making the next run just a bit easier. The auto-shooting mechanic that you might also recognize from Archero makes the game intuitive and easy to get into, and it just makes for a great beginner-friendly action roguelike experience. The game is free to play, and there's a simple $2.49 in-app purchase to remove all ads from it as well, so it's just an easy recommendation. Now, I have always been curious about how to make games like Magic Survival, and that's actually where today's sponsor comes in, because Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of online classes. So if you're like me and you have a specific skill you're trying to learn, Skillshare is the perfect place to start. From graphics design and productivity to music, web development, and much more, they have something for any interest, so everyone I know would truly get a lot out of Skillshare. Right now, I'm taking a class by Rand Fishkin called Introduction to Search Engine Optimization to prepare myself for the launch of my upcoming website, which I know is just gonna make a huge difference. Skillshare is also completely ad-free. They launch new premium classes every week. You get unlimited access to all their classes with just one affordable membership, and their entire catalog is available with subtitles in Spanish, French, Portuguese, and German. And because they're sponsoring this video, the first 1,000 people to use the link in the description below will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare, so you can explore their entire catalog of classes. So click the link below. It's a great way to support the channel and learn those new skills you've always wanted. And thanks to you, thanks to Skillshare for being awesome. And now, back to the best action roguelikes. Because now it is time for Dead Cells. And Dead Cells is, well, it's Dead Cells. Enough said, right? I think some of you might have held off on this one because of the $8.99 price tag, but it is easily one of the best roguelike Metroidvania Soulspawn side-scrollers on mobile. The main objective of the game is to make it through procedurally generated dungeons while killing enemies and collecting a currency called cells, which we then use to buy permanent upgrades for our character. It's a really fast-paced game with lots of different weapons to play around with, and it all just comes together so perfectly to create a great adrenaline-rushing gameplay experience. Not to mention that the pixel art, the animations, and the level designs are just beautiful. So yes, the game might be a bit pricey, but the gameplay definitely makes up for that, and it even features controller support. And if you love Metroidvania Souls-like games, there's just nothing like it out there. Now, for all my jokes about Archero, I do actually genuinely think it's one of the better casual action roguelikes on mobile. The combat experience is almost like a light bullet hell game, and the objective is to simply move through endless dungeon rooms while defeating monsters, selecting temporary power-ups, and collecting loot for our character. Just like in Magic Survival, a core aspect of the combat system is that our character automatically shoots the enemies, but only when we stand completely still, making this game a masterclass in having ninja-like dodgeball reflexes. Now, the energy-based monetization system sadly means that we can only play 4 rounds before we have to wait an hour or pay for more energy. But if you can live with that, the action-packed gameplay is highly addictive, which is a good sign of a solid game design. And bonus game time yet again. If you've already played Archero but you're looking for more games like it, you might also want to check out Tales Rush and Dungeons of Gods, that each expand on the gameplay of Archero in their own unique ways, but it's still that same core gameplay loop. Next up, I've got the loot-based 2D shooter Death Road to Canada, which is set in a good old zombie apocalypse America, where our objective is to escape to safety in Canada. This is one of those hack and slash games with hordes of zombies that we defeat using a team of NPCs, while then exploring in search of ammo and items that may come in handy later on. And if we die, you guessed it, we have to start all over again, and everything we gathered is just completely lost. Part of what makes Death Road to Canada stand out though is its many randomized events that we're presented with as we travel by car between locations, such as hilarious conversations, new characters wishing to join our team, NPCs demanding that we surrender our loot, and much more. The game is rather challenging, but it's also well balanced, and while the touch controls are good, it also features controller support. All in all, it's just a one-of-a-kind roguelike priced at $9.99 on Android and $14.99 US on iOS. And now, for one of my personal favorite action roguelikes, ReversEstory, which is a 2D roguelike shooter that not only has a unique gameplay experience, but also unique controls, graphics, and UI. The premise of the game is pretty straightforward though. We simply swipe to jump around the map while we pick up equipment pieces from chests and tap to fire arrows to deal with enemies. When we finish a level, we then get to select one of 2 random attributes that will influence the next randomly generated map, and then we just keep going like this until we can't survive anymore. It also features boss battles that I really enjoyed because they're both challenging and fun, and while the game overall is admittedly rather badly translated, the monetization is at least very relaxed, with a couple of in-app purchases to support the developer and then just a few ads here and there. It's really difficult to do this game justice through just explaining its gameplay. You kind of just have to experience it, so I strongly suggest you check out the game if you're at all intrigued by what you've heard here, because to me at least, this is a hidden gem of the genre on mobile. Another action roguelike that I think is worth checking out is the Diablo-like dark indie RPG Powerlust, which has been developed by a single indie developer and continues to receive updates even today, over 4 years after it first released on mobile. The game features a ton of skills, loot, and randomly generated dungeons, and I really enjoyed the fact that there are no locked or set-in-stone character classes, which means that we basically just build our own class based on the loot we equip and the skills we upgrade. And maybe best of all, there are no ads and no in-app purchases. Looking at you, Diablo Mortal, making this a completely free-to-play experience both Android and on iOS. Although it is a continuous work-in-progress type of game, it's an easy recommendation if you're looking for an offline playable dark indie RPG with controller support. Next up is a game for everyone who finds mobile games way too easy, because Downwell is an incredibly difficult roguelike action platformer where you descend a monster-infested well while trying to avoid a horrible death. So to begin with, the simple yet hectic gameplay has us stomp and shoot enemies with gun boots that can only shoot downwards. Throughout a run, we then find different weapon attachments to make things more interesting, such as a shotgun or laser, and even game-changing perks that we receive after beating a level. Even with these power-ups though, it usually only takes a few minutes before you die in this game, and progression is mostly focused on cosmetics, which means the only way to win is by actually gradually becoming better at the game. tough luck, right? It is simply one of the best arcade action roguelikes around, and it received both a 10 out of 10 gameplay score on Miner Review, and it currently sits at a 100% positive user rating score. Game number 10, or 11, 12, or 13, I guess if you count the bonus games, is the old but gold action roguelike called Quadropus Rampage, which I just love for its wacky humor and strange universe that consists of seemingly endless floors of enemies that we fight until we die, before then upgrading our Quadropus and starting all over again. Even though the game released all the way back in 2013, the gameplay still holds up today, and I mean, how could you ever get tired of these over-the-top weapon names, such as the rusted green sword of unemployment or the premature bottle of idiocy? The game is also free to play with in-app purchases to unlock more characters, pets, and skins immediately, but there's really no need to buy any of these unless you want to support the developers. So if you haven't tried it yet, I think you'll have some great fun with this one. Now, my favorite games of the bunch have got to be ReversEstory or maybe Otherworld Legends, but let me know in the comment section down below what you thought about these games. Check out Skillshare to learn something new and support the channel. I really appreciate that, and until next time, just keep gaming, stay awesome, and I'll see you guys around.